Welcome to Empowering Plans, a show dedicated to identifying waste and undue expense in the health benefits industry, discovering ways to maximize benefits while minimizing costs, and empowering employers, administrators, and consultants to emphasize once again the benefit in benefit plan. Today's episode is brought to you by Koven Consulting and Coaching, offering analytical expertise in a wide range of operational and strategic insurance issues. Now here are your hosts, the FIA Group CEO, Adam Russo, and Director Attorney, Brady Bizzarro.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Empowering Plans with the FIA Group. I am your co-host and CEO of the FIA Group, Adam Russo. With me, as always, is not Ron Peck. We're going to talk about that in a second. But with me, as always, is our amazing attorney, our dapper young millennial, Brady Bizzarro. Say hello, Brady.
Hello, Brady.
So, folks, Ron is not here today. I think Ron might be in Nantucket, Brady. He's one of those Nantucket type guys,
I think so.
He just, has a lot of money. They just go to the beach with a bunch of ones or a bunch of 20s and they just, crumple them up and throw them in the ocean and just laugh it off because they just got so much cash. I used to be one of those people that used to be against Nantucket, Brady. I was always I would never go to Nantucket. For those of you who aren't from Massachusetts or New England, Nantucket is an island off the coast of Massachusetts. There's two islands. One is Martha's Vineyard and one is Nantucket. I always went to the Vineyard as a young kid just because, it was more affordable, I thought. People, those rich snobs would go to Nantucket, like John Kerry and, Bill Belichick, who has a house down there as well. And then my wife, Brady, took me a couple of years ago. And when I got there, I said, this is Massachusetts? How is this Massachusetts? It is. Now I see why these rich folk go. I mean, because it's amazing. It's paradise. Have you been?
I have been. I was there last year, yeah.
So we're going for 2 weeks. We will continue the podcast without me. I know no one's going to listen, but we will still have the podcast even though when I'm not around. Last thing I want to bring up is we've had some amazing weather. What did you say, Pat? It's been pretty awesome. By the way, Pat Santos, I did not introduce him, our fine producer without the mic. Pat doesn't need a mic. He just looks so good. But the weather's been so amazing for the last, 2 weeks almost. I mean, we're talking 80s, 90s, high 70s. It's been perfect. But the one negative about that, especially when you have a pool like I do, is just random people just come over all the time. And I can't take it anymore. Finally, folks, I actually just lied. So a bunch of people actually texted me yesterday morning. I said, hey, can we come over? I'm like, yeah, kids are sick. It's a bad day. Everyone's puking. I think there's some virus. I mean, literally, I just lied. I literally lied to every person that texted me. Even though I was in the pool with the kids the entire day, thank God nobody actually showed up because I made it sound like the plague, the Russo family plague was occurring. I mean, should I feel bad about that, Brady?
I don't think so. I mean, come on. I mean, they just want to use your pool, obviously.
Right. They don't actually want to hang with me. I noticed that. People will come over and no one actually hangs out with me. They just come and jump off the diving board. I mean, so I have the right to just close that down, right?
I think so.
I mean, it was actually on Saturday. I think there was at one point 30 people in my pool. I thought to myself, why don't I just sell bracelets and have all you can drink and all you can eat with bracelets, like at an all-inclusive resort, and just charge $50 for the day. I think I'd rather know that people are there for free drinks and free food in a pool than pretend that they're actually there to hang out with me. Because if I didn't have a pool and I didn't live in this nice house, would they be visiting me, Brady?
Probably not.
No, don't say probably.
All right, they wouldn't be, no.
Exactly. So anyways, folks, today it's one of those special days where we have a guest speaker. This guy's a great person. He's on our FIA Group Advisory Board, which means he's got to be one of the top 10 smartest people in the industry. His name is Rick Koven. Rick, you want to say hello to our audience?
Hello, audience. Nice to be here.
So, Rick, just you pretty much just said hello to about 3 people. As long as you're aware of that, 3 people are going to be listening to this podcast. No, we have hundreds, if not thousands of people, plus all the FIA groupies that will be harassing you now with emails, reaching out to you to ask you for feedback.
And those are the same 3 people that are coming over to swim in your pool, I guess.
That's 30 people. That would be the 10 podcasts combined. It'd be a podcast convention. Maybe we'll do one of these from the pool next time. Folks, Rick Koven is the owner of Koven Consulting and Coaching in Portland, Oregon. He has over 30 years of experience launching re-engineering health plans, insurance firms, product lines, developing new market segments, increasing premiums and membership, and just building kick-butt companies that are efficient, financially and operationally sound in both the insurance and TPA operations. So, Rick, thank you so much for joining us here today. We truly appreciate you being here. Brady, I know you have a question you want to start off with, so let's just get this thing going.
Sure, yeah. So I think it's a good place to start, Rick. Just maybe talk about a little bit your background and talk about what kind of projects you're working on now in the industry and maybe even some of your coaching.
Sure. Oh, by the way, just to start, I just, as Adam mentioned, I'm on the advisory board, and we just had your annual meeting. We were at Gillette Stadium, which I have to admit I'm not a Patriots fan, but boy, what a lot of great venue and a lot of fun. It's a lot of super smart people and interesting discussion. But I have to say, Adam, that the highlight of the meeting was your imitation of Doris from Claims. And I don't know if you've ever done that
Lisa.
on a podcast.
Lisa in Claims.
Lisa in Claims.
Lisa in the Claims department. the chain smoker.
I think you should have Lisa from the Claims department as your next podcast guest, because
now see
no
that
doubt
already.
That is a highlight. That
Rick,
was a highlight.
Rick, you can literally hang up. You've already added more to this podcast than any other guest speaker has ever added. We have a great idea.
That's good.
We will now add Lisa, the claims manager at the fictional TPA. We'll make up a name. And I think we should do it on camera. Have her smoking live. Like, just have her smoke in the office. I mean, come on. Let's just bring this back to the 60s. Not even the 60s. In the 80s, I think you could smoke in the office. Rick, you tell us. You have 30 years experience. How long ago were you able to smoke in the office?
Smoke in the office. But I would say that I know I have had my Lisa from Claims, and I'm sure most of your listeners have. And it's just, not only is it funny, but you made some very good points with it as well in terms of how organizations work and who influences things. And it was great, Adam. I think you should have her as a guest.
If anyone in our audience either A, is Lisa from Claims, or knows a Lisa from Claims, please reach out to us. You can email us at socialmedia@feegroup.com, or just myself or Brady directly, arusso@feegroup.com, or bbizarro@feegroup.com. Let us know. Send photos, please, because there's a specific look that Lisa has as well. All right, so Rick, thank you for the compliments. Thank you for the great idea. What in the world are you doing? What are you working on?
Yeah, so I'm basically, I've been in the business for ages, and I started out on the group benefits side. A lot of Taft-Hartley background. Worked at a life insurance company and was president of its TPA division in New York. We were focused again on Taft-Hartley. Spent basically my whole career in self-funding. Spun off into consulting some years back and have worked with TPAs, with small regional health plans on their ASO business. And as you briefly mentioned, I've had some, I think, interesting sidelines. I got into microinsurance some years back and traveled the world doing that. And currently, my latest chapter is doing coaching with executives and up-and-coming leaders in organizations. So lots of different things, an interesting career, and happy to talk about whatever's of interest to your audience.
Well, one thing, Rick, is microloans. So I know our audience may not be
before you get to the microloans, hold on a second. Before you get to the microloans, coaching. Now, what does that mean? You said you coach executives. So are you trying to say that I need coaching? Because if that's the case, we're just going to cut this right now. What do you mean by coaching? You coach executives. What are you doing?
I think Adam, I think you can relate to this. Look, executive coaching, it's like having a private trainer, right, in the gym. It's like
are you trying to say that? Are you now calling me overweight? So now we have, not only did he insult me with the coaching, now he's saying that I need a private trainer. Brady, who is this guy? I mean, he's amazing. He has a great, some great ideas, but now personal trainers we need here. So I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. So
no,
what is the coaching all about? Tell us how it works.
So I did spend a lot of time consulting, and consulting people pay you to tell them what to do, right? And I'd say at least 80 or more % of the time you tell them what to do and they don't do it, right? And the 20% where your advice is helpful, makes for a satisfying career. But still, I think that for most people learn best when they're not told what to do, but they have somebody who can help them think things through, brainstorm, kind of give them a structure to look at things and evaluate things. And so coaching has really developed. I'm not so sure about the TPA industry, but certainly in the corporate world, coaching has developed quite a bit and is quite popular, both in terms of high-level executives and up-and-coming staff members who have the potential to become
So like
high-level
Brady.
executives.
Brady is a
Yeah,
potential
like Brady,
up-and-comer. Because at the end of the day, I would be the worst possible coach. I mean, let's be
Right.
honest here. I coach my daughter's 5-year-old soccer team. I'm sweating by the end of the 30 minutes of halftime. I don't have the patience for it. I think you said like help guide. I would just want to tell people what to do and not guide them at all. So I don't think that would work for me. So you must get all different. I mean, to be a CEO of a company, any high-level leader, high-level professional at a large organization already has an ego. So how do you?
Right.
Is it always successful? Do you have some people that you just go, these people just can't be helped? There's nothing I can do.
There are people that are not coachable. Sure. I mean, people have to see that, that they've got a ways to go. Look, the basics of coaching is this: you go in and you're asking 3 questions: what's up, what's important, and what's next, right? And so what's up is let's make an honest evaluation. Where are you right now? Where is the organization right now? What's working? What's not working? And I think that a lot of times talking to somebody else and somebody that's going to call you on your BS, right? I mean, that's a big part of coaching, is calling people when they're not being entirely candid. But it's, let's make a candid assessment of what's going on. And then what's important, I think that's very much something that I think executives don't spend enough time on, is what's important for me, what's important for the organization, where those two things align. What do I really want to do? Why am I doing this? Is, to make money, which is fine. Or do you have other things goals that are important to you?
It's the why. The what's important piece is why is it that you do what you do?
Yeah.
Right,
and
but it's
I
not
think
just
that
about money.
It
Makes
sounds
sense.
a little, it sounds a little woo-woo or whatever, but it really isn't. It really is like, let's use the gym analogy. If you went into the gym with the trainer wouldn't surprise you. The trainer, what are you looking to do here?
Right.
Where are you at right now physically, and what do you want to do? What's important to you? Strength, conditioning? Are you training to be in a marathon, or what? Is it just health? And then lastly, it's what's next, which is, of course, all of this is fine, but if you have to turn it into an action plan. So a good coach, a good executive coach, can help a client come up with action steps so that they can, accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I think in that way, it becomes real. And if you can get you asked me, the question is, does it work? And no, it doesn't always work, but most of the time it works when people can get through that assessment stage and get to the action steps that they want to. And that could be anything. It could be, hey, I need to, move into a different position, or I need to have a different way of listening to my employees, or I need to get with clients, get out of the office. I'm making stuff up here, but whatever it is. And then the final sort of piece for the coach, if the coach is going to be successful, is holding the person accountable, right? You said you were going to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, are you doing it? And so you're like working with them, and they check in. Maybe at that point, maybe check in once a month, and they, quickly and say, "Here's what you said you were going to do, and did you do it? Okay. Well, what stopped? What was in the way?" So that I'm probably going on a little too much here, but
No, it's fine. We're just gonna, it's perfect. It's what we want to hear. And to be honest with you, Rick, I just got enlightened. I realize I have a coach already. My wife. Every day when I go home, the 3 questions you brought up: what's up, what's important, what's next. So I walk in the door with the 4 kids, and what's up? Yeah, Adam, the diapers need to be changed. Perfect. Next, what's important? I have a bunch of trash needs to be taken out. It needs to be done right now. And what's next? What's that action plan? Turn on the water for the tubs, because you have to be accountable to make sure those kids go to bed. I literally have a life coach, Brady. I never realized that. I don't need a coach. I have one. Every day when I go home, I literally just do whatever my coach, my wife Kelly, tells me to do. So thank you, Rick, for that. I appreciate it. Now, Brady, you want to get to those microloans?
The other thing, just one last thing on that,
Please.
on the coaching,
Sure.
is that you said something, Adam, at the meeting I was at with you, about one of the big problems in our industry is getting a new generation of leaders going. And I think, a big part of my practice, I kind of work at 2 ends: the career transitions for the veterans who are thinking about their next chapter, but also the young Turks, men and women, who are coming up, who we as an industry very much need to develop in terms of their leadership and, of course, their success. And I was really struck by your comments about how, to be candid, we have not done a good job attracting the millennials into leadership development and into the industry to begin with.
That
So I
is
think
literally
coaching in that way, I think coaching can be helpful too.
that is on the top of our agenda here, not only for me as the CEO of FIA, but as the next chairman of the board of SIA, is really focusing on how do we get those future leaders involved, people like Brady. So, Brady, what question you got?
So I think you brought up microloans, or I brought it up before, and I think it's a question worth asking again. I think many of our listeners may not be sure what they are. I know they're low interest loans that you give to developing countries, and I'm just curious if you can talk about your experience doing that.
Yeah, it says you travel the world.
That sounds awesome.
So if they don't pay, do you have you hire enforcers to beat people up? I mean, how does that work if they don't? So
Right.
how do you collect on these small microloans?
Right.
No, anyways,
Yeah,
any background you give be great.
So microcredit's something that's gotten a lot of notoriety, and that's these microloans that people in developing countries can make to buy a productive asset or whatever they need to do. So on the insurance side, about 15 years ago, I think the big thinkers and doers in this space realized, it's a great, from a poverty alleviation point of view, you give somebody a loan, that they were doing that to buy productive assets and make an income. Give somebody a safe place to do their banking and save their money. That's all fine, but when catastrophe strikes, whether it's a health event or a weather event or whatever, people don't have insurance and they get knocked right back into poverty. So the thinking was, let's give the same people in developing countries access to insurance, which had been unheard of at that time. So we've got, and from an insurer point of view, by the way, where both here in North America and in Europe, where markets are very mature and there's not a lot of upside, the idea that there are 4 billion people in the world who are, first of all, neither have insurance, and secondly, we're not talking about the poorest of the poor, but one step up from that. The idea that there's an untapped market of 4 billion people out there was really exciting. So anyway, I got involved with the World Bank and then ultimately with the Gates Foundation in going out, and they were very interested in people, having people like myself who knew the business to go out and evaluate the business case for this, which as it turns out, and maybe as you can imagine, is extraordinarily challenging. And the challenge being, and I think there's some lessons for us here in the U.S. on this. The challenge is we looked at programs, sorry, again, in all over the world, Africa, South America.
Can you give some examples of some countries that you've gone to? Like where in Africa?
Yeah, I've been to the Philippines, India, many times to India, which is sort of the hotbed of this. Indonesia, Kenya, Tanzania, Colombia in South America, Ecuador, Dominican Republic. So all over the place, and it was really a great experience for me. So what I think for your audience, other than it's kind of a cool, some people might think it was a cool thing. I mean, it's a lot of long flights, but a lot of interesting people and situations. And the things that maybe would apply in a certain way to what we do here is that the challenge in these developing countries and designing insurance for people that are, in the lower economic sectors is that the premiums are so tiny, right? So the average premium, I'd say that we looked at, particularly in Asia and Africa, was like $5 a year.
It's like the FIA health plan. It's very good.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Like the FIA health plan. That $5 a year.
Right.
It doesn't cover anything, but it's $5 a year. I'm kidding.
And exactly, and that's the point. Because basically, some of the studies, they say, well, what can people afford? Now, these are situations where you're asking the member to pay, and what can they afford? And so you're $5 a year. So when you have a premium that's that tiny, it leverages and puts tremendous stress on your ability to deliver a product at a low unit cost. In other words, your expense ratio is super stressed out. And secondly, you've got to find ways to overcome the traditional way of doing things. So you can't go out and collect $5 premiums, right? I mean, that's just not economically feasible. So there's a lot of leapfrogging in terms of technology. You find in a lot of these countries SMS technology in terms of collecting premiums, issuing policies by text message. It sounds weird, but that's what they do, and it helps them. But yeah, very challenging stuff. And one of the conclusions that you might find interesting that we found was that on the life insurance side and the credit insurance side, it worked pretty well, right? I mean, you could get a business going that made sense economically. On the health insurance side, it was very, very difficult to make it go without government subsidy.
Sounds like America.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just regardless of where you are, it's, unlike life insurance or property casualty insurance, etc., health insurance is very personal. No one thinks about their life insurance policy until someone dies or someone's really sick, right? But when it comes to health insurance, it's just personal. It's always there. You want to do everything possible without thinking about the cost of something, as long as that person is healthy. That's just the way it is. Well, Rick, we want to say this. We learned a lot today. Again, one of the biggest things we got out of this, obviously, was to bring Lisa on board, our claims manager, who's been an avid smoker for about 50 years. Not only just Marlboro Lights, we're talking like menthols, hardcore menthol, illegal Russian cigarettes, like the ones that my uncles used to smoke that literally smelled up the whole house for weeks at a time from just one cigarette. But anyways, Rick Koven joining us today from Koven Consulting and Coaching out of Portland, Oregon. Rick, thank you for the insight. Thank you for the great discussion, and we look forward to work with you for many years at the FIA Group, and good luck to you with your consulting and coaching opportunities going forward.
Thanks, Adam. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
On behalf of Pat Santos, our producer, Brady Bizzaro, our wonderful co-host, and myself, the CEO of the FIA Group, Adam Russo, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for empowering your plans with the FIA Group.